Hi everyone, I'm Kevin Kopp. Thank you so much for tuning in to another edition of Cherry and White Classics. There have only been 4 Team NCAA titles in Temple history, and tonight on Cherry and White Classics, we have one of them for you that we're showing in its entirety in public for the first time ever. We're going to turn the clock back to 1992 for the NCAA Fencing Championships, and before we get started, we are joined by the head coach of Temple Fencing in 1992 and also in 2020, Dr. Nikki Frank. Nikki, thank you so much for taking some time to chat with us tonight.
Oh, great. Thanks, Kevin, for having me.
Well, I'm sure this is a great memory to go back and relive. I have to ask before we start, 1992, does it feel like just yesterday to you, or does it really feel like, oh gosh, 28 years ago?
Well, I hadn't done the math. So, yeah, there are things that you're always going to remember. But it was a long time ago. But it was, some of it will stay forever in your memory.
Well, I think it's important before we really get into a discussion about 1992 to kind of set the stage, because the NCAA Fencing Championship has gone through a bunch of iterations over the years, and there is no more Women's Foil National Championship awarded. It was only 5 years between 1990 and 1994 that individual weapons were given national championships. So I'm just wondering if you can provide some context for the folks watching about exactly what was going on in NCAA fencing at the time, and why Temple winning the only women's foil championship that was awarded doesn't mean that Temple won the overall national title that year.
Right. At that time, there was a combined men's and women's championship, but they were run totally separately. And so we had, at that time, women only fenced foil, where men fenced all 3 weapons, foil, epee, and saber. Women since then now fence all 3 weapons, and we have all 3 weapons on our team. But then it was a true team competition at the championships. And so the top teams got to be able to compete as a team in foil. And then for those that won, you get a certain amount of points. So because we did not have a men's team, we could not gain any points for the men's program, but we got all of the points for the women's program. And we did win that women's championship. But when you look, when you combine the men and women, then of course we weren't the champions overall, but we were the women's foil champion.
Yeah, so I just want to be clear for everyone watching, because men's and women's NCAA titles were awarded separately up through 1989. If this had happened just a few years earlier, Temple would have a true bona fide team national title, and because of the men's and women's point totals are still combined to this day, without a men's program, Temple is essentially precluded from winning a national championship under the current arrangement. So I just want to make sure that people know how special this is when they're about to see it here.
Yes, it really was, because we only had a few years when before we did away with the team event. And so now the championships is more of an individual event. And as a Temple program, we always prided ourselves on being such a strong team, and the power of helping and supporting each other was really the key to our philosophy.
Well, that said, as we're about to get to take a look at this 1992 team, can you tell me about just what you remember about this group? I'm sure obviously the result is special, but being a coach, you get to see them along the way, and I'm just wondering if you could give us some context as to what this 1992 team was like, and what made them so special.
They were such a close-knit group. It was a young group. We were the underdogs all the time. We had a fairly young team, not extremely experienced, but their desire, their work ethic, their camaraderie, their support of each other is really what stood out to me. To this day, most of them are still good friends. They are some of our most loyal alums. They come back and help every year at our Temple Open. They come to our alumni meets when they can. And so they have stayed connected to Temple all these years, but more importantly, they've stayed connected to each other. And I think that was really the thing that really made this group special.
Well, I think folks that are watching here in the present day are going to have no trouble believing about a Temple team going in as an underdog. There are some things that don't change in the intervening decades. So I have to ask because, it's also worth noting what we're about to see. It's not like ESPN was covering the national championship then as they do now. This is not a full television broadcast. In fact, this is really something closer to what you would expect from a home movie. I'm just wondering, all these years later, I remember a couple years ago when you brought me this tape for the first time. Do you remember who shot this or how you came into possessing this VHS copy of this video?
I really don't. I actually think it was a parent who sent it to me and said, "Hey, I have this video and I thought you might like this," because I didn't get it till many years later. And it was something that once I got it and once, you were able to actually put it on DVD at that time for us, and I was able to give it to all of the girls, and they were just so excited to have that because we really had no visual record of the championship and what the emotion was like winning that championship, especially because it was against Penn State, which is always a rival for us and for all Temple teams. And so that just made it even sweeter to be able to not only win, but to win a very, very close match against a very favorite Penn State team.
Yeah, so I'll set that up to say it's not going to be the most polished video you've ever seen, but I think, as you said, Coach Frank, I think it's really special for folks to get to see all of that emotion, and the celebration is certainly on display. So before we get to the main event tonight, I have to ask you, just as we're sitting here, obviously in 2020, right now we're obviously separate because of the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. You were in the midst of, you can make the argument, the best season that Temple has had maybe since that 1992 season. A terrific 2020 year. This team was ranked as high as number 5 in the nation. And it seemed like full speed ahead into the national championship before the coronavirus brought everything to an immediate end. And so just want to ask what the last couple of months have been like, obviously dealing with the disappointment of the 2020 season being canceled, and now getting ready to hopefully resume here for 2021. But I know just some uncertainty hanging over everything, and I just think folks will want to hear how the team is doing right now.
Yeah, it was heartbreaking. Right now, the way the championship works, you can qualify a maximum of 6 fences per gender, and we qualified 5 fences out of the 6 for the first time in quite some many years. And so we were really very excited. We had a lot of hope going into the championships, and it was the Thursday before we were supposed to leave that next Wednesday. So it was a week before the championships when we were in practice, actually, and learned of the cancellation. And needless to say, there was just so much disappointed. The ladies had worked so hard. We had been, so successful in many ways. There had been so much growth, especially among some of our younger fencers. And it was a wonderful opportunity. But I think I felt the worst for our seniors. We had 2 seniors who qualified where this was it for them. And it was just heartbreaking, but they have kind of picked up the pieces, and our seniors are ready to move on and start a new chapter in their lives. And our returners are anxious to get back and to just to get started with practice and to show that, to try to repeat what we did this season. It was a great year, and we're all looking forward to this next season coming forward.
Well, we are as well. We're looking forward to seeing you and seeing this team back in action. So while we wait for 2021 to resume, let's go back to 1992 and revisit the NCAA Fencing Championships. Dr. Nikki Frank, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us tonight.
Oh, great. Thank you, Kevin. Thanks for having me. It's been great.
Absolutely my pleasure, and let's roll the tape.
Good job, both sides of cars.
You got it. Stop here. Come on, kid. Oh, did you get it?
Oh, they can play. I'm not sure. It looks like, you know, I can never assume it's all. I don't Oh, here. window and nose. Yeah, too. Nothing. I watch it come back. Just like that. Line or I know when they play well. I'll grant you that. That pushed him over the edge. You're up and started but I don't think that. No, you're still relaxed. I mean, I guess it's like somebody who listens to after rock and roll, somebody listens to classical music. Oh, yeah. And then but you have to understand. But you have to understand. I just like step aside and be involved. She says there's no way you can't. No way you can't. Be a part of what's happening. Even if it's competitive, Right here. Well, here, please. You want me, Greg? There you go. What? Okay. Come on, Jake. Take out. Hold on. Take out. Oliver.
No, she's the one. Yeah. No, I said on my right.
Sure. George. I just went over there because I thought it would be easier than having somebody else walk all the way around.
That's why they're doing it.
Well done for once we lost. That's why you have in the field, because there's only one touch doesn't make a difference. Yeah. He doesn't even try to touch
Well, no.
Oh, maybe for the team title, I don't know. Eight count touches. So if it's a tie on touches, they each put up one touch. Maybe look at the one.
I'd like to know, but
That side is more They're doing a recount. No. Wait a second, she looks pretty good. I agree, go out and tell him. Don't let me do it. Yeah, Daddy gets one. One out of three. The same thing again, just then they gave it the right way. She makes a beat. Now what? Everybody else starts to mess up.
Yeah, but what about the other mouse when they didn't do that?
Yes, sir. No, I'm natural position, so everyone today. No, if you go to an unnatural offensive position, you'll cover the target of the head if you want to. It's not unnatural for us. He does all the time. We can prove that back. To make one more, so not. Temple wins. Incredible. Like your upper physical, higher level. I'll ask some of them at interview. I don't know.
Our fourth place winners, the team from Yale University, Nicole Gray, Neil Portion, Suzanne Portion, Tasha Spencer, Maggie Super, coached by Henry Burns Jr. The winners of the bronze medal, team from Columbia University, Barton College, Regina Chi, Jennifer Madrid, Ann Marsh, Joel Rosander, Jill Garcia, coached by George Milanovich and Umbrella Bauer Coker.
Gold up this right there.
Winners of the silver medal, the team from the Pennsylvania State University, Olga Cherniak, Katie Kowalski, Susan Paxton, Jenny Fripple, Carol Smith, coached by Emmanuel Gaidana and Mislav Plum. Winners of the gold medal, your 1992 NCAA Women's Team World Champions, the team from Temple University, Alicia Batson, Muna Bitar, Jennifer Don, Lisa Hone, April Smith, coached by Nikki Frank.
Coach, I know why they're...
Couldn't they close their locker first?